Chapter 511. 12 Levels of Bone Fusion. Only human experts from plane worlds outside of the monster continent would not have come into contact with a body reshaping technique until now, Xianxia said. Jian Wushuang was speechless at first, but he directly admitted, "Yes, I did come from somewhere outside of the monster continent." Just as I thought. Xianxia looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile and said, "Wushuang, my friend, don't worry. Human warriors on the monster continent only hate demonic beasts. We won't refuse human experts from other plane worlds. They can even serve as divine generals and divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League. All human experts are welcome in the Monster Exterminating League." Oh. Jian Wushuang was surprised and asked, "Are there experts from other plane worlds who are divine generals and divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League?" "Yes." Xianxia said, "Those experts aim for the League's holy place. If they want to obtain benefits from the holy place, they have to make corresponding contributions to the League, which includes killing demonic beasts. That's why they serve as divine generals or divine emperors." Oh. Jian Wushuang secretly nodded. "Wushuang, aren't you also aiming for the holy place?" Xianxia asked in doubts. "I came here by accident. But now I'm quite interested in the League's holy place," Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. "The holy place is open to all human experts. But you have to become a divine general of the League first." Xianxia looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile and said, "Even though you're only in the Saint Realm, you're stronger than me and definitely qualified to become a divine general." "May I ask what the requirements are?" Jian Wushuang asked. "BG container 63275cc1F display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647, important it's very simple. As long as you are strong enough to pass the assessment, it won't be a problem for you," Xianxia laughed. "I'll be staying in the tribe for a month. If you're not in a hurry, you can wait and go with me when I leave. How about it?" "Thank you, Mr. Xianxia," Jian Wushuang said. He had only just arrived on the monster continent recently and had very little knowledge regarding anything here. It would be better if he could obtain some information from Xianxia. "By the way," Xianxia said, "I saw how easily you cultivated the 4th level of the bone fusion technique. I guess it won't be difficult for you to cultivate the 5th or 6th level. I brought them back with me this time. Do you want to read them?" Xianxia took out 2 jade slips. They had the 5th and 6th level of the bone fusion technique recorded on them. Seeing the jade slips, a happy expression appeared on Jian Wushuang's face. After having contact with the bone fusion technique, Jian Wushuang was extremely eager to continue practicing it. It had an immeasurable effect on his physical strength. With just the initial 4 levels, his strength had already soared to a level several times higher, and his strong body made him qualified to cultivate higher levels of the bone fusion technique. He definitely yearned for the 5th and 6th levels of the bone fusion technique. "Thank you so much, Mr. Xianxia," Jian Wushuang said gratefully. "Since we're both human beings, there is no need to be so polite," Xianxia said and smiled. "By the way, don't call me Mr. Xianxia. You're even stronger than me, so just call me Xianxia." Jian Wushuang responded with a smile. He had discovered that Xianxia and Wu Yuan, as well as all the clansmen in the Wu Yang tribe, hated the demonic beasts, but they were very friendly and enthusiastic to other human beings and treated them like brothers. "Xianxia, do you know who created the bone fusion technique and how many levels there are?" Jian Wushuang asked. "I don't know who created it. No one seems to know. I only know that it has been spread throughout the monster continent since long ago. More than 90% of the human warriors on the continent cultivate it to improve their physical strength. As for its levels, as far as I know, the bone fusion technique is divided into 3 volumes and each volume contains 4 levels, so there are 12 levels altogether," Xianxia said. 12 levels. Jian Wushuang was shocked. The initial 4 levels of the bone fusion technique had already benefited him greatly, but there were a total of 12 levels. How strong of a body would he attain after cultivating all 12 levels? However, it's impossible to cultivate all 12 levels. Or, at least, no human on the monster continent has ever succeeded. Even the strongest person has only cultivated the 11th level and is regarded as the top human warrior. Only a few human warriors have cultivated the 10th level in the history of Monster Continent, Xianxia said. Jian Wushuang was not surprised to hear it. The more powerful the technique was, the more difficult it was to cultivate. The bone fusion technique was definitely an incredible one and had high requirements on the body's foundation. It was naturally difficult to cultivate all 12 levels. I have another technique which should also be useful to you, Xianxia said while taking out another jade slip. This is... Jian Wushuang was puzzled. This is a technique dedicated to concealing one's aura, Xianxia explained. Aura concealing technique. Jian Wushuang's face changed slightly as he quickly understood. I obtained this technique by chance. It can completely conceal a warrior's spiritual power aura. No one will know your strength unless he's much stronger than you. Xianxia said, after all, you're only at the Saint Realm. It'll be too noticeable if you participate in the Divine General Assessment like this. With this technique, no one will know your realm. Oh. Jian Wushuang slightly nodded. Divine Generals in the Monster Exterminating League were usually Cloud Realm experts. It would indeed be noticeable if he became a Divine General as a Saint Realm expert. Thank you so much. Jian Wushuang expressed his gratitude again. You have a month to prepare. After that, we'll set off, Xianxia said and then laughed. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then he shared several drinks with Xianxia while asking him questions about the Monster Continent. He stayed there until dusk. Chapter 512, Heavenwing City. That night, the bright moonlight spread like water, slightly illuminating the ground. Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged on the ground with his bare upper body. He slightly closed his eyes and felt the strange energy flowing through his body. His dark and strong muscles were also slowly wriggling. Suddenly, a burst of sound emanated from his body as his skin immediately became covered with sweat and a wild aura suddenly radiated from him. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes. Bone fusion technique, the 6th level, I've succeeded. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled with surprise and joy. He had easily succeeded in cultivating the 4th level of the bone fusion technique, and his cultivation for the 5th and 6th level was not difficult either. His physical strength soared every time he cultivated a new level. After cultivating the 6th level, his physical strength had been enhanced to a new level once again. My current physical strength has at least doubled compared to when I battled with Xianxia. Jian Wushuang thought. It was already very amazing. .bg container 63275cc1f display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important he had been able to fight a 7-cloud realm expert by virtue of his physical strength. Since he had improved his physical strength 2 more levels now, his power would be even more incredible. This is only the 6th level. What if I cultivated all 12 levels of the bone fusion technique? Jian Wushuang wondered. He was full of curiosity towards the creator of the bone fusion technique. How amazing was this expert who created such an amazing body reshaping technique? No matter who he was definitely a supreme expert. He thought. The higher levels of the technique were only available to those who joined the Monster Exterminating League. Therefore, whether the holy place existed or not, Jian Wushuang still had to become a divine general in the league so he would have access to the higher levels of the bone fusion technique. A month, Jian Wushuang murmured. A month was not a short amount of time for him. He would not waste it. He stayed in the Wu Yang tribe to meditate quietly on the slaughter occult from the restriction in the 6-story pagoda. Meanwhile, he used the world scroll to meditate on the world origin. His original body and doppelganger were working on comprehending the 2 different origins simultaneously, yet independently. In this way, he would yield twice the results. The aura concealing technique, aura restraint, was indeed delicate. It took him several days to comprehend it and learn to completely restrain his Saint Realm aura. Now that he had concealed his aura, other experts could not see through his strength, unless they were supreme experts, like the 3 ancestors, who were far beyond him. However, those kind of experts were too rare. A month passed in the blink of an eye. He had improved his comprehension of the slaughter origin during this period, but he was still a step away from condensing the 8th origin mark. On the other side, he had made great progress in comprehending the world origin and had condensed the 6th origin mark. He was quite satisfied with his performance. The only thing that he was unsatisfied with was his level of cultivation. Even though he had been at the Saint Realm for a long time, he still could not feel any signs of a breakthrough. It might be a long time before he entered the Cloud Realm. In the early morning, a large number of clansmen gathered on the drill ground of the Wu Yang tribe. They came to see Qing Hue and Jian Wushuang off. Father. Qing Hu stood next to Qing Hue, reluctant to see him leave. Big brother Wushuang, kill a lot of demonic beasts, Wu Yu said to Jian Wushuang. Uncle Qing Hue, remember to kill even more demonic beasts. It would be best if you could kill all those damn demonic beasts. Brother Wushuang, take care of yourself and Uncle Qing Hue. While being accompanied by the clansmen, Jian Wushuang and Qing Hue arrived at the entrance gate of the tribe. He was touched by their warmth and enthusiasm. Wushuang, let's go, Qing Hue said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded, then they left the tribe. Several days later, they arrived before a giant city. A city. Jian Wushuang looked at it. On the journey, he had passed by large and small tribes, but he had yet to see any cities on the monster continent. This city was much larger than any city he knew of in the Divine Land. This is Heaven Wing City, one of the 8 cities of the human population on Monster Continent. Qing Hue looked at Jian Wushuang and explained, the human population has 8 cities like this one. The tribes come here to exchange goods, and each city has a saint castle. If you want to be a divine general, you must go there for the assessment. Oh. Jian Wushuang slightly nodded. The Monster Exterminating League has set a rule. Flying is forbidden in the holy place and the 8 cities, as is fighting. We have to queue up to enter the city, Qing Hue said. They went to the front gate where a large number of human warriors from various tribes were queued up. Jian Wushuang and Qing Hue also stood in the long queue. Flying is forbidden as well as fighting. Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. No one dares to violate the rules set by the League. Of course, if you have the opportunity to become a divine emperor in the future, you don't have to follow these rules. Experts, like divine emperors, have certain privileges, said Qing Hue. Divine emperor. Jian Wushuang was intrigued by these words. He had heard about the divine emperors from Qing Hue before. In the Monster Exterminating League, where all high-level human warriors of the monster continent gathered, divine generals were the most common and were generally 7 Cloud Realm experts. There were numerous 7 Cloud Realm experts on the monster continent. Therefore, there were countless divine generals in the Monster Exterminating League. Above the divine generals were divine emperors. According to Qing Hue's description, divine emperors had entered the Tao. If they were in the divine land, they would be as strong as the 9 sovereigns, or maybe even stronger. However, there were 108 divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League. In addition, there were many other experts who were qualified to be divine emperors in the League. Compared with the Monster Exterminating League, the Divine Land, where Jian Wushuang had just come from, was indeed much weaker. Chapter 513, Saint Castle. Inside Heaven Wing City, Jian Wushuang walked with Qing Hue on the wide street while looking around at the huge buildings. They were ancient and splendid, as delicate as sculptures. The streets were crowded with people. What a busy city, Jian Wushuang said. Even though humans only occupy less than 10% of the territory on the monster continent, it's still very vast and the number of tribes and warriors is quite astonishing. All the tribes come to the 8 cities to exchange goods. As one of those cities, Heaven Wing City is naturally lively, Qing Hue said. Jian Wushuang nodded in agreement. Before long, he noticed an ancient purple castle, which was about 100 meters tall, at the end of the street. It was so humongous that it was extremely eye-catching among buildings in Heaven Wing City. That's Saint Castle, also known as Monster Exterminating Castle. If you want to be a divine general, you have to accept the assessment there, Qing Hue said. Let's go, Jian Wushuang said. He headed towards Saint Castle with Qing Hue and they quickly arrived at the entrance. After climbing the stairs, they stepped into the hall. So quiet, Jian Wushuang whispered. .bg container 63275cc1f display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important, the hall was very empty. The dozens of people in this empty hall made it more sparse. It was completely the opposite of the busy streets. People here are either divine generals or applicants trying to become a divine general. Of course, it wouldn't be crowded here, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang nodded and noticed the application counter. A blue-haired beauty sat behind the counter, in front of a shelf that was filled with bottles of wine. Shadow, give me a bottle of lion liver wine, Qinghua came to the counter and said directly. She raised her head and then gave him a bottle of wine, then she said, 10,000 raw gems. We're old friends. Why do you still charge me so much? Qinghua muttered but still took out the raw gems. Qinghua, who is he? The blue-haired beauty looked toward Jian Wushuang and asked. He's a little brother from my tribe. He came here to participate in the Divine General Assessment, Qinghua said. Shadow, please help him register. The Divine General Assessment. The blue-haired beauty nodded and asked, what's your name? Which tribe are you from? Jian Wushuang from the Wu Yang tribe, Jian Wushuang answered. The blue-haired beauty recorded his name on a list and said, you're lucky. There is a Divine General Assessment about to take place right now. Wait a moment, I'll make the arrangement for you immediately. Thank you, Jian Wushuang said. You're fortunate. The Divine General Assessment is held every 10 days. You came at the right time, Qinghua said and laughed. The blue-haired beauty immediately left to make the arrangements. A moment later, she returned with a white-haired elder. The white-haired elder looked at Jian Wushuang without saying anything, but a strange light flashed in his eyes. Jian Wushuang had seen this strange light before. He knew that it was the monster discriminator's special method. Wushuang, all the applicants for Divine General Assessment are tested. It's to prevent monster spies from sneaking into the team. Don't worry, Qinghua explained. I understand, Jian Wushuang said and nodded. The strange light in the white-haired elder's eyes lasted for a while. As Jian Wushuang had no reaction at all, it gradually dissipated. Come with me, said the white-haired elder. Then he went straight to the inner layer of the castle. Go. I'll wait for you outside, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang followed the white-haired elder without hesitation. It didn't take long for him to arrive at an open space in the inner layer, where lots of people were waiting. These men and women were all warriors, and they all possessed a powerful aura. When Jian Wushuang arrived, they only cast a casual glance at him and then looked away. They all came here to accept the assessment, Jian Wushuang muttered. There were over 30 warriors. Among them, several warriors had an extremely strong aura. In particular, a red-haired young man that was standing on the edge of the open space attracted his attention. This young man carried a saber on his back and stood there with his devilish eyes slightly closed. The arrogant expression on his face showed that he was not paying attention to anyone present. He should be at the 8-Cloud Realm? Jian Wushuang thought in surprise. A 7-Cloud Realm human warrior with a strong body was enough to be a divine general. An 8-Cloud Realm warrior would be regarded as excellent among the divine generals. Therefore, it was common for the 7-Cloud Realm warriors to participate in the assessment, but it was rare for 8-Cloud Realm warriors. Just then, a purple-robed middle-aged man, flanked by a couple of people, walked toward them. He held a list in his hand which recorded these applicants' information. After standing in front of them, he looked around. Listen well. The assessment is very simple. Walk along this tunnel until you reach the huge gladiator arena in the innermost part of the castle. Once you step into it, your opponent will naturally appear in front of you. What you need to do is to use your full strength against him. Whether you pass the assessment or not depends on your performance in the gladiator arena. That is to say, the better you perform in the gladiator arena, the more likely you are to become a divine general. The purple-robed man stopped and watched their reactions. His words caused a stir among the applicants, but they quickly quieted down and accepted it calmly. By the way, Emperor Fengxiao, one of the 108 divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League, happens to be in the castle. He'll be watching your battles at the gladiator arena. It's a good opportunity for you, the purple-robed man said. Emperor Xianxia. The famous Emperor Xianxia from the Monster Exterminating League? He's in the castle and will watch our assessment. Oh, if Emperor Xianxia appreciates my performance and chooses me as a disciple, then I would be very lucky. Everyone became excited. Even the arrogant red-haired young man on the edge of the open space changed his expression. Chapter 5:14. The Assessment. I heard from my father that Emperor Xianxia has a high rank among the 108 divine emperors. He's at the peak and he's even stronger than my father. It's definitely a great opportunity. I might become the disciple of such a powerful divine emperor. Thinking of this, the red-haired young man clenched his fists tightly as a flash of burning desire appeared in his eyes. Among all the experts, only Jian Wushuang remained calm. Since he had just arrived on the monster continent, he had never heard of Emperor Xianxia. However, since the latter was one of the 108 divine emperors, he must have entered the Dao and would definitely overpower Jian Wushuang. Anyway, I'll call your names one by one according to the application order, the purple-robed man said as he took out the list. The first one, He Kang. He Kang immediately stepped forward and entered the tunnel on the side, then headed directly towards the gladiator arena. The rest waited quietly in the open space. After a while, they heard loud roaring sounds from the gladiator arena. The extremely fierce sounds indicated that He Kang was in a tough battle. It didn't take long for He Kang to return along the tunnel and reappear in front of them. He was wounded and his furrowed eyebrows revealed an obvious trace of sorrow. He was apparently worried about whether he would pass the assessment. .bg container 63275 CC1F display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important: the result would not be announced until everyone finished the assessment, so he had to wait quietly. Next. The purple-robed middle-aged man called the second expert's name. The experts stepped into the gladiator arena one after another after traveling to the end of the tunnel. It wasn't long until the name of the red-haired young man who stood on the edge of the open space was called. Jin Ling, the middle-aged man called out. The red-haired young man walked to the gladiator arena. He created a larger disturbance in the gladiator arena, and also stayed in there longer. After a quarter of an hour or so, he returned to the open space. With the arrogant expression still on his face, he looked around at the crowd with a hint of disdain. He must be extremely confident of his strength, Jian Wushuang muttered. Several more experts entered gladiator arena before Jian Wushuang's name was finally called. The last one, Jian Wushuang, the purple-robed middle-aged man said. Jian Wushuang immediately walked towards the gladiator arena at the end of the tunnel. A moment later, he finally arrived at the gladiator arena. The huge gladiator arena was encircled by a restriction, with rows of stands around it, but no one seemed to be watching. I wonder who my opponent is, Jian Wushuang thought. Suddenly, 3 giant beasts slowly walked out from 3 tunnels near the edge of the gladiator arena. They are demonic beasts. Jian Wushuang observed the 3 giant beasts in surprise. They were all 3-meter-tall demonic apes with 4 arms. No. They have no vitality. Are they puppet fighters? Demonic beast puppet fighters? Jian Wushuang was stunned. In the Divine Land, he had seen a lot of puppet fighters, but they were human-like. He had never seen demonic beast puppet fighters before. My opponents are these 3 demonic beast puppet fighters, Jian Wushuang thought with a serious expression on his face. The 3 demonic beast puppet fighters encircled Jian Wushuang in a triangle shape and then directly began to attack him. Howl! They roared simultaneously and then trod the ground heavily, causing the ground to tremble violently. Fortunately, the ground was paved with extremely hard stone slates, which were not easily cracked. Hoo! 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 3 strong wind-breaking sound came from each side. The 12 fists of the 3 puppet fighters were tightly clenched and punched Jian Wushuang like landslides and tsunami. Jian Wushuang felt like he was surrounded by fists in all directions. He immediately moved, leaving behind a residual shadow as he bounced towards the puppet fighters in a flexible manner. He then punched one of the puppet fighters with his tightly clenched right fist. He used the full extent of his physical strength, striking the puppet fighter with a fierce blow that seemed almost like a meteorite. Bang! The puppet fighter was immediately knocked back, slamming into the stone wall at the edge of the gladiator arena and causing a violent impact. Get out! Jian Wushuang then punched the other two puppet fighters and knocked them backwards without effort as well. In a blink of an eye, he had defeated the 3 demonic beast puppet fighters. They're not very strong, Jian Wushuang thought. He could tell that the 3 puppet fighters were equal to superior lords with a stronger body. They were comparable to Wu Yuan, the leader of the Wu Yang tribe. It should not be difficult for any 7-Cloud Realm human warrior to defeat them. The assessment shouldn't be so simple, he thought. As he expected, after the 3 defeated puppet fighters left the gladiator arena, a brand new puppet fighter immediately stood in front of him. It was over 2 meters high, but it was shorter than the demonic ape puppet fighters and much stronger. It had a lion head, greenish-black scales that covered its body, and a 3-meter-long tail, which was also covered with scales. Is this the original look of the demonic beast? Jian Wushuang looked at it with a curious expression. He had only seen spirit beasts in the divine land, which were totally different from the demonic beasts in the monster continent. The demonic beasts carried some human characteristics to a certain extent. The demonic lion puppet fighter also began to attack. It was much stronger than the 3 puppet fighter, and its speed was quite astonishing. Jian Wushuang only caught a flash of a greenish-black spectral image. The next moment, he heard a harsh explosion in front of him as the puppet fighter split the air, slashing towards him with its sharp claws while opening its big mouth. Howl! A roar, accompanied by a strong sound wave, stormed toward Jian Wushuang. Chapter 515, Emperor Fengxiao. A sound wave attack? Jian Wushuang sneered. It was not the first time he had encountered a sound wave attack. He had already made preparations against this type of technique, not to mention that he was physically stronger than he used to be by far. The sound wave attack of the demonic lion puppet fighter had little effect on him. He clenched his right fist and launched a punch. His violent physical power exploded like a volcano waking up after being dormant for a long time. Bang! He had an absolute advantage in brute force, so the demonic lion puppet fighter was forced to retreat. However, its long greenish-black tail appeared near Jian Wushuang's side, catching him off guard. The tail swept directly toward his head like a sharp saber. What a move! A bit of surprise flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He waved his arm casually and parried the tail. Kai! 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 The metallic sound of several collisions reverberated through the area again and again. The puppet fighter's tail was knocked away, only leaving behind some white marks on his arm. Well! A sigh of surprise came from outside of the gladiator arena. In one row of stands at the top of the gladiator arena, sat a handsome long-haired man in a green robe. Until just now, he had been completely indifferent while watching the other applicants fight with the demonic beast puppet fighters. BG container 63275Z1F display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important, but, just now, when he saw how Jian Wushuang struck the puppet fighter's tail away, he was a little surprised. What a strong body! He has only cultivated up to the 6th level of the bone fusion technique, but his body is stronger than those who have cultivated the 7th or even the 8th level. The long-haired man nodded and glanced at the red-robed woman standing next to him and asked, "Who is he?" "Your Highness, he's Jian Wushuang from the Wu Yang tribe," the red-robed woman replied respectfully. After all, this man was Emperor Fengxiao, who possessed great power within the Monster Exterminating League and stood at the peak among the humans on the monster continent. Emperor Fengxiao ranked 2nd among the 108 divine emperors. Among the human population, he was estimated to only be weaker than the 33 superior temple masters from the Monster Exterminating League. Jian Wushuang. Emperor Fengxiao nodded slightly, remembering the name. Jian Wushuang can defeat the demonic lion puppet fighter easily by virtue of his strong body. It's quite likely that he'll also pass the third round, Emperor Fengxiao said. If he can pass the third round, he'll be a second-grade divine general. So far, only Jin Ling has passed the third round among these applicants, the red-robed woman said carefully. Jin Ling? He's different. Emperor Fengxiao shook his head. I know Jin Ling. He always stays with his father, and his father has helped him a lot with his cultivation and even improved his physical strength using lots of treasures. It's normal for him to pass the third round. Jian Wushuang comes from an ordinary tribe. Since he can make it this far without any background, he is much stronger than Jin Ling. After he becomes a divine general and cultivates for a period of time in the holy place, he'll make greater progress. Maybe our side will have another divine emperor several years from now. Divine emperor? The woman glanced at Jian Wushuang in surprise. She had not expected that Emperor Fengxiao would give Jian Wushuang such a high evaluation. Just look, Emperor Fengxiao stopped talking and continued to watch. As Emperor Fengxiao expected, Jian Wushuang did not exert himself to defeat the demonic lion puppet fighter in the second round. He easily defeated it without drawing his sword. The puppet fighter of the third round appeared immediately. It was comparable to an 8-cloud realm expert and even stronger than Marquis Zizhong, who Jian Wushuang had fought in the Divine Land. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang was also stronger than he used to be after cultivating the bone fusion technique and improving his physical strength to a great extent. In front of this puppet fighter, Jian Wushuang finally drew his sword and used his spiritual power to defeat it. The demonic beast puppet fighter of the fourth round showed up. It looked exactly the same as the demonic apes in the first round. It even had 4 arms, but it was much stronger. Few second-grade divine generals can compete with the demonic ape puppet fighter in the fourth round. I wonder how long he can hold out. Emperor Fengxiao watched the fight attentively. Jian Wushuang began to attack the demonic ape puppet fighter. Whoosh! The triple-kill sword carried a decisive and unwavering intent as he attacked with the second move of the heart-killing sword technique. A sword shadow burst out, like sharp bolt of lightning, roaring as it stabbed forward. The puppet fighter waved its 4 arms violently and clenched a fist, releasing a punch towards Jian Wushuang's triple-kill sword. Bang! The triple-kill sword was deflected to the side as the puppet fighter directly strode forward and violently punched at Jian Wushuang with its other 3 arms. Jian Wushuang retreated in a hurry and swung his sword to parry the incoming attacks. However, he still suffered a blow on his chest from the puppet fighter's fist. Jian Wushuang groaned painfully and tried to calm down his turbulent aura. How powerful! It's even stronger than me. A hint of excitement flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. It seems that I will have to use some of my trump cards. Bang! 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 The puppet fighter trod forward heavily and then pounced on him. He immediately retreated while simultaneously waving his hand. Hum! A giant tumbling blood river rushed out, accompanied by surging waves of invisible sword essence that spread out around Jian Wushuang. He had superimposed road to the underworld and the hundredfold realm. As for the bloodfire domain in the bloodfire ring, it was too weak to be of use to Jian Wushuang now. Due to the oppression of the domain, the puppet fighter's speed and strength were greatly restrained. Jian Wushuang stopped retreating and raised his triple-kill sword, which gave off a dazzling light at this moment.